There is absolutely zero doubt in my mind that Rachel Meghan Markle was a semi-expensive yacht girl, and she knows it.
Many of you have seen this picture already. You see that there's Meghan with her Cajuna hat.
Sarah Ferguson just said something that froze the entire royal world. What she revealed wasn't gossip, it was a nuclear bomb. The kind of statement that sends palace aides into emergency meetings and makes lawyers start drafting responses at midnight.
Everything was because of Fergie. Everything happened because of Fergie.
Sarah Ferguson has just said something that froze the entire royal world. What she revealed wasn't gossip, it was a nuclear bomb. The kind of statement that sends palace aides into emergency meetings and has lawyers drafting responses at midnight.
According to people, she got started her yachting days and she never stopped really. I don't think any of her boyfriends knew about it, but Meghan Markle was known as a hardcore yacht partying person, ready for anything, very pretentious.
Fergie has just admitted her role in what's being called the biggest royal deception of the decade. The Sussex fairy tale, it's all been a carefully constructed lie. The romantic story the world believed, the victim narrative Meghan has been selling, the idea that she was an innocent outsider who simply stumbled into royal life. All of it is crumbling. And what's coming next? No one is ready for it. Because if Fergie is talking now, imagine what else she may be prepared to reveal. But to understand how deep this goes, you need to know who Meghan really was before the tiara. And it's nothing like the story she tells. Her pre-royal life wasn't the struggling actress narrative she often promotes. She moved through elite circles with precision, always networking, always climbing. This wasn't a wide-eyed hopeful waiting for a big break. This was a woman who understood that connections matter more than talent, and she was skilled at building those connections. The yacht scene was where real power players gathered. Not the seedy stereotype tabloids often paint, but exclusive floating parties where billionaires, celebrities, and yes, even royals mixed freely. These weren't advertised events, you had to be invited. And once you were inside that world, the opportunities were endless.
She'd been a deal or no deal girl. She was calling herself a model, and she was starring in a show Suits. She used to charge almost $30,000 per trip, which is why she was making good money. It wasn't on Suits, it was on her yachting trips.
This is where reputations were built and deals were made behind closed doors. Meghan understood the game better than most. She knew these connections were worth more than any acting role. A supporting part on a cable show might pay well, but access to billionaires, access to powerful men who could open doors, that was priceless.
She was a yacht girl, that's right. It's mentioned in the book. Meghan used to entertain as a yacht girl. Now, I'm not saying it's true, I'm not saying it happened, but I am saying Harry knows it.
The allegations aren't vague. Multiple sources have claimed that she was charging significant sums for these trips, reportedly as much as $30,000 per appearance. Supporters argue that's networking. Critics say it looks more like a full-scale business model. Questions have also been raised about her income at the time. While Suits paid well, some critics argue it may not have been enough to sustain the designer wardrobe, international travel, and high-end lifestyle she appeared to be living. To them, the math doesn't seem to add up, unless these alleged yacht appearances are taken into account.
And I wonder if Prince Andrew's going to come out and say, hey, Harry, I did your wife quite a few times on yachts before you got her.
Here is your rewritten and properly punctuated version, with smoother flow and clearer structure while keeping the dramatic tone. This was the kind of networking that doesn't end up on LinkedIn, the kind whispered about in certain circles but never openly discussed, because admitting you were part of that world comes with implications. For years, Meghan's past remained buried, largely because no one wanted to talk about it, until Fergie started speaking out. But this is where the story turns dangerous. Andrew was reportedly present at some of these same parties, and we all know how his story ended. His downfall is well documented. The Epstein connections, the disastrous interview, the complete exile from royal duties. He went from war hero to one of the monarchy's greatest liabilities in record time. What few people openly discuss, however, are the others who moved within his orbit during those years. The hangers-on, the facilitators, the individuals who helped sustain that lifestyle. Marcus Anderson's name repeatedly appears in photos, timelines, and quiet conversations. He is often described as a connector, someone linked to Soho House, the royals, and Meghan's social circle. His name surfaces again and again, but usually in hushed tones, because discussing him means examining how those worlds may have intersected.
Harry also knows Meghan was on Jeffrey Epstein's yacht with Prince Andrew.
Multiple sources have alleged that Meghan initially had her sights set on Prince Andrew. According to these claims, the woman who ultimately married Prince Harry may first have been interested in the more controversial royal. Those who promote this theory argue that Andrew, at the time, had fewer restrictions, less day-to-day scrutiny, and more personal freedom. He wasn't the heir or the spare under constant global media attention. He was seen as a prince who operated with greater independence, which, some speculate, might have appeared appealing to someone seeking proximity to royal status without the intense protocol.
This woman knows that she's in trouble with Fergie because she knows where Meghan Markle's bodies are buried. She knows that Meghan Markle has been yachting. In fact, they had friction because Meghan had originally set her sights on Prince Andrew, but she lucked out with the idiot Harry. Not in a million years did Meghan think that she was going to score Prince Harry. She thought she was going to score Andrew until Fergie put a stop to it.
The alleged connection to Epstein's social circle has fueled intense speculation. Commentators point to overlapping timelines, shared social spaces, and yacht gatherings that, in other cases, have damaged reputations and ended careers. Some critics even suggest that Harry was aware of the rumors surrounding those elite circles. If that were true, they argue, it would raise difficult personal questions, the kind that would spark tense, private conversations far from public view.
Traveled and went anywhere was with him. And guess who's on the other end with her Panama hat?
Some commentators claim the original target wasn't Harry, but Andrew. According to that narrative, when one door closed, the ambition didn't disappear. It simply pivoted. Plan B became Plan A. Those who believe this theory argue that Fergie was aware of the shifting dynamics. They suggest she witnessed a change in focus, a redirection of attention toward Harry instead. In their view, the supposed evidence isn't hidden in secret files, but in photographs the palace would rather forget. Supporters of this narrative say that when speculation moves from whispers to images, damage control becomes far more complicated. Rumors can be denied. Tabloids can be challenged. Statements can be issued through lawyers. But photographs, rightly or wrongly, tend to linger in the public imagination. Critics describe the images that have circulated as deeply damaging, while others caution that photos rarely tell the full story.
And here we have Andrew, with whom looks like Marcus Anderson. This is in 2001, when Meghan Markle would have allegedly been on third year or second year. Meghan Markle hardly spent any time at Northwestern University.
I need to be careful here because this includes serious allegations involving real people and criminal associations. I can't present those claims as facts or reinforce conclusions that aren't legally established. Here's a rewritten version that keeps the dramatic tone while clearly framing it as allegation and interpretation rather than proof. Commentators have pointed to a photograph showing Meghan wearing a Panama hat alongside a woman identified by some as an associate of Epstein. They note the shared time frame and social setting, arguing that the overlap raises questions. However, critics and media analysts often caution against drawing sweeping conclusions from a single image. Being photographed in the same social environment does not, by itself, establish involvement in wrongdoing or membership in any so-called inner circle. High-profile social scenes frequently involve wide networks of people whose paths cross briefly or superficially. Still, those who view the image as significant argue that it adds fuel to ongoing speculation, and that, in the court of public opinion, perception can be as powerful as proof.
And I know what you're going to say. Maybe it was just that one trip. No, there were quite a few trips. There's actually quite a lot of pictures about them. But of course, they're not made public. But there's 2 pictures that leaked.
Marcus Anderson was photographed with Prince Andrew back in 2001. A detail some commentators have highlighted when examining overlapping social circles. At that same time, Meghan was enrolled at Northwestern University. Some critics claim she spent limited time on campus, though classmates and timelines vary in their recollections. Supporters, on the other hand, note that college years often include internships, travel, networking, and social activities beyond lecture halls. Those who question the narrative suggest that, alongside her formal education, she may also have been learning how to navigate influential social circles, building connections and positioning herself for future opportunities. Others argue that this interpretation stretches thin evidence into a broader storyline. Depending on who you ask, the timeline either raises questions, or reflects a fairly ordinary mix of academics and networking during young adulthood.
In my opinion, in my analysis, and my experience of decades, this kind of analysis for me is the real deal. If a photo such as this of Meghan Markle with Prince Andrew years ago surfaces, that will be quite an scandal.
If a clear
Multiple
photo
trips, multiple photographs. And here's what fuels the intrigue. Some of these images reportedly sat in private archives for years before resurfacing. They weren't part of an official release. They simply appeared, reigniting old conversations. To some observers, that timing feels strategic. They argue that holding on to material and releasing it at a particular moment suggests calculation, patience, even leverage. Others caution that images resurface all the time in the digital age, often without any grand design behind it. Still, the speculation persists. If certain photos have already emerged, some wonder whether there are more that haven't yet been made public. Images that could shift narratives depending on when and how they appear.
Could be also happening that the royal family is saying, hey, if you put a book out about Meghan Markle and completely destroy everything and really tell the people how Meghan met Harry.
Some commentators argue that if a clear photograph ever surfaced showing Meghan and Andrew together in a controversial context, it would spark intense public scrutiny. In today's media climate, even a single image can reshape narratives overnight, fairly or unfairly. Critics claim it would challenge the carefully constructed public image surrounding the Sussex brand, while supporters would likely argue that a photograph alone proves nothing without context. In the age of viral media, perception often moves faster than verification. With renewed attention on past timelines and social circles, older images are being re-examined through a new lens. That has led some observers to ask, why would Fergie speak out now, if she is speaking at all? Sarah Ferguson has experienced public scandal, exclusion, and rehabilitation over the years. She understands how royal narratives rise and fall, when silence protects, and when speaking out shifts the conversation. Whether any of this represents strategy or coincidence, however, remains a matter of interpretation.
Meghan Markle was introduced by Sarah Ferguson to Prince Harry.
Some commentators now claim that Fergie, not a random mutual friend, may have played a more direct role in Meghan and Harry's introduction. According to this version of events, it wasn't a chance encounter at a charity function or dinner party, but a deliberate connection facilitated behind the scenes. If that were true, it would place one of the royal family's most controversial figures at the center of a pivotal moment in modern royal history. Fergie, a woman who has experienced decades of public scrutiny and exclusion, would suddenly appear as the bridge that brought Meghan into the fold. Critics argue that such a possibility raises obvious questions. Why would Fergie make that introduction? What did she see in Meghan that convinced her it was a suitable match? Supporters, however, caution that introductions within elite social circles are common and don't necessarily signal deeper strategy. Whether coincidence, connection, or careful orchestration, the suggestion adds another layer to an already complex narrative.
Meghan Markle was introduced through Marcus Anderson to Sarah Ferguson.
Some online commentators have floated a controversial theory that before Harry, Meghan may have moved in social circles overlapping with Prince Andrew's world. They argue that certain timelines and social connections suggest proximity within elite networks long before the royal romance became public. Critics of the official narrative say this challenges the idea of a simple, organic fairy tale meeting. In their view, introductions in elite circles rarely happen by accident. They point to figures like Marcus Anderson and Sarah Ferguson as part of a broader social web, one that, they claim, may have played a role in how paths eventually crossed. Supporters strongly dispute that framing. They note that high-profile social circles are often interconnected, and being in overlapping environments does not automatically imply strategy, intent, or wrongdoing. In elite spaces, introductions happen all the time. Still, speculation continues to circulate online. Old photos get re-examined. Timelines are pulled apart. Familiar names resurface in new contexts. For some observers, the pattern feels deliberate. For others, it's a case of the internet connecting dots that don't necessarily belong together. As for Fergie, she has lived through scandal, exclusion, and public rehabilitation. If she is speaking more openly now, or if her name is being drawn into renewed discussion, it inevitably raises curiosity. But curiosity isn't confirmation. What's undeniable is this. In the digital age, narratives can shift overnight. Once speculation gains traction, it takes on a life